concern for my son. He's doing a little bit better right now. He's still got a little bit of a fever. Earlier this morning, it's been about 14 hours with a fever. Um, but he threw up about 3 to 4 hours ago. Ever since then, it started. He's starting to become a little more active. Ever since then, it started. Let me turn this down. Sorry, that was on my phone. But he's getting a little more active and he's looking more like himself. He's gotta break the fever fully is the best way to put it. Amanda, welcome in and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 months with the XRP Meteor. I greatly appreciate that. So just a few things to note here. I'll get into my son again. I'll talk about it in a sec. I said it briefly, but I know people will be coming in. George, welcome in along with Syrian. Thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XRP Predictor. And Syrian, thanks for being a very trusted mod. Yeah, I'll get into Mini Tom in a second. I promise. Steven, good afternoon. Wish you got the short in last time. Ooh, yes, indeed. Jesus, the chart looks bullish. It does. If you look at it from less than just a micro, it actually doesn't. Even from the micro, it doesn't look awful. Messi, good evening. Frankie Fresh, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for 3+ months with the XP Meteor. Mark Caston, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Awesome. Terrell, welcome in. Tiddly Winks, welcome back into Tom's Army, and it's not your first month. This is a multi-month now. 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. Really appreciate that. Rejoining Tom's Army during the live or upping it for another month. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that, Tiddlywink. Praying for your son for a speedy recovery. Yeah, so I know some of you know the deal with my son. He had a fever. Last night he had like they don't really know. I mean, they know what it kind of like a seizure, so to say. He's never had anything like that, but it was a very brief thing. They said it was brought on by the spike in the fever. And when the medication, combats it sometimes, they weren't concerned at all about it. But the point is right now he has a little bit of a fever. It's like 100.7. It's hard. I'm getting another thermometer because the one that I was using was saying I had 100.5, and I don't feel like I am fever risk, and I don't think I feel like that. So, I'm gonna get a new one. But he's when I came down here to do the live, and hopefully we'll only get good messages. He was doing good, more talkative. He was playing with his cards a little bit. He still doesn't have an appetite, but he's been drinking his water now, and he gets fed through a G tube. So he literally threw up from his feeding this morning after we gave him the second part of his first feeding. That's what came back out. So, but now he's been drinking his water the last few hours, and he's held it down. So we'll see what happens. We won't be doing the G tube change today, obviously, and we'll come back on June 27th. So we'll drive back out here, and do it again. And hopefully, everything will be good until then. Thank you, Miss Erica. I really appreciate that, love. Said praying for your son for a speedy recovery. Much appreciated. Michael, welcome in, says, hi, Tom. Let's pump it up. We're going to try. We're certainly going to try. Wise man, welcome in. A lot of prayers for your son. May God bless him with speedy recovery. Amen. Amen to that. And when more than one person speaks the name of our Lord and Savior and asks for guidance, he becomes present. So I believe the prayers will be answered. They already are starting to be answered. Shane, thank you for the $2 donation. Yeah, I love Quant. I do. I actually put out a buy alert for Quant when it was, now it's like 20-something% ago. But when it was breaking out of this inverse head and shoulders, that was my, hey, I don't usually tell people to buy Quant, but that was the time to buy it. And now, almost looks like it's emulating this pattern to a smaller fashion here. So if this is an inverse head and shoulders breaking out, this is just start. You're going to see this come all the way up to about 160 bucks. Very easily. And that looks like that could be what it's transcending into. Unless it breaks back within this little bit of a channel that it broke out of. One could argue maybe it was a widening like this a little bit, which you can argue it if you want. But I think it makes more sense like that. That's just me. I feel like the overextended wick was an anomaly, and then you come into the other part, and I think it preserves what we're trying to do. I think it preserves what we're trying to do here. So, yeah, quant, no problem with. Now XRP, and we'll get into the gold and precious metals, silver, mining stocks. I know a lot of people are going to ask me about it. Well, it doesn't seem like a lot because 90% of my audience asked me about crypto, but there's that percentage that's going to bring it up today. So I'm going to bring it up first. So we'll look at gold up 65 bucks today. We'll look at silver up almost to 33.50 again. Mining stocks starting to push here, which is great to see. Talk a little more about Murphy's oil. I talked about it earlier. But that drop, if it happens down to that $13 to $16 range, it's going to be actually 12 to 16. It's going to be very enticing at a 6.3% plus dividend to take some serious stock into that, because oil is going to end up reversing and it's going to have a parabolic spike. It's just lagging big time. So, good evening or good afternoon. 3:49 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Friday, May 23rd. 2025. I'm XRP future millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. So as we can see, XRP is down about 3.25%, sitting at $2.35. We continue to stay on the bullish side. However, we what appears to be a little bit of a reversal candle here in the daily. But there's still 4 hours and 10 minutes left. This could still play out to be more of a fake out. There's more top end pressure here. Not by much, though. One could argue that that is a reversal. And if it ends up swinging down here and we end up losing that $2 and it's the 29-cent pivot point. But now as we start to progress down, this area is going to start to be like, oh, now it's got to hold 228. And then tomorrow, or by Saturday, it's going to have to hold 227. And then if we stretch it out here to June 6th, we have to hold 216. So you see what's happening here. So now we need to see if this is a full-blown, we got to shake out back to the downside. We ran out of steam, and now we got to start breaking back to the bottom side. Or if it's something more spectacular. Because if you take this into the weekly and you get out of the micro just a little bit, we can see we've had this golden cross fully happen. We just haven't had that last push out. Even the 100 easily came through the 200. We just haven't made that last push. Add all the monthly. We don't even have 20, 50, 100, 200 on this pattern, I don't believe. Because it's just in the terms of it, it's just there's not enough data on this chart, which is why I should go to probably this one to get all of the data. And the monthly's riding. How far back does this one go? Yeah, that one goes all the way. So, I mean, still been supported on the 20 all the way up to on the monthly, but that's a too far of a scope to look at. If you start to look at what's actually going to happen, the monthly, it's a good spot to look at it like this, just so you can see that, yes, we had a breakout, a pretty nice one up to 265, and now this could very well be a typical inverted hammer style candle. Yes, there's a little bit of wick to the downside, but sometimes you get that overzealous wick pull down at the start of a candle just because that's the very bottom. Now, if it's an inverted hammer, you try to stay at the top half of this body or higher. And perfectly, if we could close at the end of this month, and I know it's still, there's still some days left here. We got about a week, 8 days. But if we could close over 235, especially if we could get up over here and start pushing. But man, if we close over that, that's going to be some kind of special candle on the next monthly. But if not, and it ends up reversing back down, well, then it could end up being something a little more difficult. But as of right now, I'm not honestly seeing anything that's making me go, oh my God, this is a shit show coming on. I mean, yeah, we know we could go back down to $1.50 at some point. We know what can happen. But as of right now, we don't have to worry just yet. In order for you to start worrying, you have to break down that 228, 229 area, and then give away that support structure. Until you give away that support structure, it's pretty darn good, to be honest. Papa Wheelie, welcome in. George, welcome. Thanks for being in Tom Zone for over 6 months with the XP Predictor. I've already started positioning for oil. Excellent to focus. So you're along the same lines as me. You know what's coming. Rick, welcome in and thanks for being a very, very trusted mod. Jabril says, give your son some chicken broth with onions in it and have him drink Gatorade or any drink with electrolytes. Yeah, we're giving him electrolytes. But he has a G tube, so he doesn't eat much. He's got very bad food aversion from when he was 6 months old. He got into a car accident and broke his femur, but there was a lot of things that had to go in through the mouth, and he was eating like normal progression. And then once all that happened, he developed over time very bad food aversion, and he's got a developmental delay, autism, and things like that. So it's a pretty tricky thing. So he gets fed through a G tube. He still eats some by mouth, but he's not eating like enough nutrients to where it makes a big difference, But great suggestion. Great suggestion. Let's see. Terry, welcome in. It's called a febrile seizure. It's scary, but it happens with a fever over 105. He'll be fine. Yeah, that's what they said. That's exactly what he called it, a febrile seizure. And it spiked up, so that's what I was saying. Like, it spiked up so quick, and then it was at 103, and now it's at like 100.7. So obviously a far cry from where it was at. But yeah, it's very scary. But that's what it was called, a febrile seizure. Thank you for saying that, Roscoe. Yeah, they said it's common with fevers that get up, but it's also common like when you're out in the summer heat for kids, and then all of a sudden they get a change in temperature. It's just a lot of stuff. Joseph Euler, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom Zone for 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. And I don't think it was the incident itself that was so scary. It's just that 3 months ago he had, so when we changed his G tube, everything got changed fine, but he was a little like congested and things like that. There were sicknesses going around, especially at a school and around where I live. And they're thinking that he had like a reflux coming up from when we first changed it, from just the trauma of the change, and it happens, and then it comes up a little bit higher than normal. But because he had all the mucus and stuff pushing down from his nasal cavities through his bronchulars, and down through his passages, it met right about here, and he ended up choking on his own vomit, to where if we wouldn't have got it out, he would have suffocated. And fortunately, I know all of that stuff, so I had him at the angle, and I'm tapping his back, and scary, stiff as a board. But and blue, but that's been through a lot with him. But will a juicer work? When he gets to that stage, he's not quite to the stage of. I mean, in a way, yeah, a juicer would work. It's definitely an option. Definitely. Frankie Fresh said, "Hey Tom, I heard you were mistaken as a bum. The same thing happened to me. I work as a union carpenter, and on a short break, I sat down side of the building. Manager came out and said, someone saw a bum out here." Yeah, that's so yeah, yesterday, for all of you who don't know, I might as well share it. I mean, we don't have a big crowd today, obviously. It's an interesting thing. One, we're doing it at a weird time. Two, the pricing in the market's just, it's an interesting time right now in crypto. People should be so much more excited, but they're not. It's so weird. But yeah, when all that was happening, it was a new experience for me with the febrile seizure from the high temp. But I went outside, and obviously I had to sit down. So I went down to the basement or first floor, and I sat in this corner by the elevator. And I was just inside of the opening doors, and I'm not thinking anything of it. And I see this guy stare at me, and he walks upstairs. And no sooner than like 2 minutes later, the lady who works, at the front desk comes downstairs, and she's like, "Are you okay? We had a report that a homeless man was down here." And I'm like, I didn't say anything. I just stared at her. I didn't care to even respond. Didn't give a crap. Um, and she's like, "I know who you are. I recognize you from when your son was here before. But yada, 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 this, that, and so many other things." And it was just, it was an interesting thing. So it was very interesting. So Julie comes back out because she was smoking a cigarette, and I don't smoke cigarettes. And after all that happened, and she tells the lady, she's like, no, this and this and this happened. He's not homeless. We're actually staying here. She's like, I know he's not homeless. We just have homeless people that come here, and he thought yada yada. And I'm like, oh, good to know. Good to know. So if I was homeless, they would have kicked me right back out into the cold, which is understandable, I suppose. It's their business. But, being a paying customer, they can't, I can sit within reason, I can sit where I want, as long as I'm not being a dick. But yeah, that's what happened. For anybody wondering, let me pull live chat back up. Okay. Jennifer, welcome in. Thank you for being here, Jennifer. Hopefully you're having a blessed day. Happy Friday to you. Tanya May, welcome in. Love, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 years. Or 2 years with the XRP 589 Moon Badge. That's excellent. Unbelievable. 1986 Baldwin, welcome in. So, as I was saying, we've got, and I think we should be extremely excited about what's going on here. And we've talked about it, and we'll talk about it again. 1, we're back testing the breakout here. 2, the fact that when we got the all-time highs, we ended up dumping back down in a rotational consolidation since December, where we knocked off more than 54% from the top. It's a miracle before we ended up breaking out. And the reason I say that is because we're so close to discovery now that once we end up breaking through this resistance wall, and yeah, there was a chance, I drew this out, and if this plays out as a bear flag, it could come down here. Whoops, my bad. Obviously, I'm not in the same setup at home, but let's knock this over. Get used to it. You should see my setup right here. But there's that chance that it could come down if we lost the 200-day and the 4-hourly. And then we could come down here possibly and retest distribution and backtest the inverse head and shoulders while creating a wider form that would imitate the left side of this inverse head and shoulders, which oftentimes, because there's trading bots and algorithms, you'll see a not quite a carbon copy, but it'll repeat in a way. That's why I drew that out with a drop. If in fact this was some kind of like rising wedge that turned into a bear flag that met rising wedge and then just had to come right back down. So that's what I'm watching. Otherwise, it's going to go back into the demand zone, and it's going to be spectacular. And then if we can get into discovery, it's going to be unbelievable. It would be unbelievable. The way we've done this, it's literally the way we've done this would just be unreal. I think a lot of people would be in for a shock. I think a lot of people are going to be in for a shock to the system when this actually happens. I really do. Because they go from a zone that we've been stuck in for so long and then to actually break out of said zone for the first time, and instead of hitting it as resistance, coming back down, hitting it as resistance, coming back down, and just starting over, this time it could be something different. And if it's something different, I don't think a lot of people are prepared for it. I just seeing it, I think there's just as little people prepared for this as that we're prepared for the jump from, 38 cents, just months before it happened to the breakout past $3. I think there's that little of people that are actually sitting here saying, oh my God, this is a great thing. I think more people are like, see, XRP's dumping. I knew we should have sold. No point of holding this. It's a one-trick pony. It never goes up. It never goes up. But yeah, here we are sitting at $2 and what are we at today? $2.34. But down 3.7% modestly. But there's still such a big opportunity there. It's like between XRP and DGB and some of the other ones, and hopefully you guys liked what I did with DGB, as I wanted to upgrade this just a little bit. So I added a smaller Phoenix, like the child, and it's getting DGB from the fire. I think it's pretty cool. I think it came out just exactly like I wanted it to. The scale and everything, the way I did it. I think it fits. I don't think it's out of whack. I think it actually fits. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. I didn't mean to share that for today's title, but I did. I meant to do my diamond hands ones like I always do. But so be it. Once retail loses interest is when we go up. Absolutely. Absolutely. MC Prosperity, welcome in, friend. Love seeing you in here still. Love it. Kryptonian, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. And yes, like Frankie Fresh said, please don't forget to hit that like button for Tom. That would be great. Joy McCaffrey, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 months with the XRP Meteor. Jennifer says, just trying to survive the work layoffs has me on edge. So, I feel for you. I know what it's like to be on edge. Trust me. I feel like I'm I don't know the right word for it, but it's definitely not one that I enjoy. Not one that I enjoy for sure. Let's see. So we'll get into the stuff we have to. We'll get into the stuff that we have to. The stuff that I think is going to end up playing a pretty key factor here. Just in my opinion, we'll get into it. Because we do have a little bit of reading. And I expected the time it's on. I didn't talk about this, but I expected it to be more of a, hey, we can talk and we can try to figure out what we want to see on these charts. Bitcoin dominance, like Jennifer says, is killing us right now. Absolutely lambasting us, for lack of a better word. And the fact that this dumped out and now reversed like this, if this comes up here and we end up breaking into that higher plateau area, there's going to be a problem. We need it to reject here. Otherwise, where I drew it across here, this is where it can come up to that 72 percentile. And now you're talking only 28% of money is finding its way into all the other alt tokens. That's not a good scenario. And we need this bearish pennant to play out. You got downtrending support, uptrending resistance. So you have higher lows and lower highs. I mean, I don't think it's a bear flag. I think we're in a bearish pennant now. And we need this to break down. And the technical target on the downside is 8.5%, which means 91.5% of all crypto money would be going to everything but Bitcoin. Now, if it takes the up route, I have marked that out too. That's 96.22%. And you know what the problem here is? And this is something I've thought about. And I don't know if we should, but so we all know what fair value gaps are. And we can acknowledge them or we don't have to acknowledge them. But if you want me to be honest, there's a fair value gap here on this drop in the dominance that honestly brings you all the way. It's scary. Look at this. Do you see any kind of back test any higher than coming to like 90? I mean, I don't see anything from the initial drop at all. Like maybe it's in the daily and I'm missing it. Hopefully it is. From a weekly perspective, it's just not. No, it's not. Well, no. No, not close enough. Came down and never even came back up here. Cleared out this space. Maybe it cleared out. Who knows? We better hope for our sake it did. But man, the way this consolidated a background, the way this looks like it wants to push back out, I just want this bearish pennant to play out the way it's supposed to. Sure, we can have a premature breakout, come to 72, and then bounce back down. That's fine. But we have a golden cross here in the highest order in the weekly, and that's not good. It would be if it was our alt token, but it ain't good right now. We just had the 100 cross to 200 in the last week. Or two. That's a unbelievable signal here. So if this plays out bullishly, which it looks like we engulf now, past, well, not engulf, but it looks like we're trying to push past the last week's resistance. Let's go get spicy. Something big is about to happen. It's either Bitcoin's going to some massive number while alt tokens just straddle behind like they've been, or we're going to have a severe crash in alt tokens while Bitcoin just continues to go up. And I can't say that Ethereum's making me happy today. Down 110 bucks or 4.1%. Not exactly what you want to see for carry through, because we have a very key resistance level that if we get rejected here, it's over. And the good news is we're hanging out on support above the 200-day, which is, and this is what we talked about in this morning's update. We want to, no matter what, stay above that. And now in real time, it's 2,441. And the reason for that is watch this. I'm going to draw a line that I'll delete right after I do what I'm going to do. This, I'm going to turn it blue. Whoops, that looks like trash. First, I'm going to turn it blue. So this line, you know, now the pattern, boop, boop, bearish. Tried to break over, couldn't use it as support, crashed, right? It kept coming up to resistance, resistance. Now we came back up, and are we finally going to use that as support? Looks like a giant bull flag. If it uses that as support, you're talking about an immediate surge, and you're going to find yourself up in the, like, it's such an immediate reversal. You got this range at almost 3,000. You've got this range at almost 3,500. You've got this range at almost 3,900, and then you've got the top near 4,100. Like, there are so many things that can happen here so quickly with Ethereum. And, like, yes, I don't like Ethereum. I don't have spot Ethereum. If I trade it, it's through leverage. But I also know that Ethereum is a gatekeeper right now, and it's gatekeeping alt season. And what I mean by that is we put in this is either a great fake out or this is the ultimate, hey, pay attention to this range because we fell through a rising wedge, and if we get rejected here, hello, $496, or this was kind of a big floof story. It did this to liquidate everybody who would be in Ethereum, get rid of all of the, the people wanting to hold it, and it's an ultimate fake out. And then what ends up happening is it breaks back through the rising wedge, which it's been trying to do. And we've been all over this for Ethereum for the better part of over a year here with this rising wedge. But when I drew this out, I was like, what if we're actually in a rising wedge? Now, we knew even if we were bearish, we had to come back up and retest this area. It has to happen. Otherwise, you don't know if your pattern's bullish or bearish in the short and long term. Short term, though, we're absolutely doing what we need to do. As of right at this very moment, it would say we got rejected, and that we're not looking so hot. But if you look at it just a little bit deeper, I believe something different's happening. For the first time, it's trying to actually hold on top, right? Trying to hold on top. The only other time we did this was way up here when it rode the 20-day real fast, but never came down and corrected to meet the old levels. And then it did here. Now it's reversing back. And if this plays out, I mean, this is going to bring us a nice chunk of change here. Not just for Ethereum, but for us in the alt tokens. Make no mistake about it. Haven't you noticed the alt tokens are moving better when Ethereum's moving and moving worse when Ethereum's moving down? But when Bitcoin moves up, it seemingly does nothing in most cases. Like if I told you Bitcoin would be at 108,500 and XRP was at $2.34, a lot of people would be fucking stoked because XRP was at 38 cents when Bitcoin was down around, 35, 40,000. And at least you can see the movement is more than paced Bitcoin. For Bitcoin to have had the same move, it'd have to be at 400,000 that XRP had. XRP's not at 340 anymore, but it's still at $2.34. Ethereum hasn't done dick. Algo hasn't done nada. IOTA, nothing. DGB, nada. XDC, nothing. Zil, gadooch. VeChain, get out of here. Nothing. They've done nothing. That's the beauty of this. We've done absolutely positively nothing yet. XRP ran parabolic and it's sitting at 234. Remember what Brad Garlinghouse said some years ago, even some months ago? We're going to make sure that retail is priced out of XRP, or retail will be priced out. And I argue, have they already been? Because to make real wealth, you're going to have 10,000 tokens to let this materialize. Because at $10, you have 6 figures. At $100, you have 7 figures. At $1,000, which it's never going to happen, but let's be in our hyper. Let's just pretend it does. Then you have 8, and so on and so forth. But I believe that 10,000 token mark for a token like XRP, that's the sweet spot. Yes, it's nice to have 100,000 or 500,000 or whatever, but 10,000 is the sweet spot for retail. I'm driving Uber. Is DGB breaking down? Also ZBCN TA. Thank you so much for the $2 donation, James, and also being in Tom's Army for over 3 months. Please be safe out there, and you're a hardworking man. I will definitely take a look at both. ZBCN up 4.16%, And I think you understand what's going on here, James, because I've seen you talking in the Telegram. Me and you were kind of going back and forth yesterday on it. That we're trying to get into discovery, and until this technical move up finishes at 335, this move right now isn't complete. 3.35 or 335, which is 00335 right now. And I know I posted that either 35 or 336 in the Telegram, but it has to hit that resistance, and then we can start moving. We drew out this inverse head and shoulders so long ago. It makes me so happy that it's actually following this. And I'm so glad it's breaking out, and that I own what I own of ZBCN. That's all I'm gonna say. But here's the tricky part. I don't know what comes next, because this is the breakout of this inverse, or I mean this cup and handle, and that's what it broke out of and back tested after the handle was formed. And now the technical move up here in the short term is right around that 335 area, 0033. Actually, you could say 335, 336. So that's what I've been waiting for to see how it reacts. This is a fucking fantastic consolidation as of right now. Beautiful. You couldn't ask for anything better. Dumped out. So the best way to look at this, remember how we looked at the 200-day on the one? Best way to look at this now. Now we look at it from the red perspective. That's the 20-day. That's your support structure in the 4-hour. You want to keep bouncing off of that no matter what. Came up, support, up too high, back to support, up too high, back to support, consolidate on support. We're happy here. Up too high, but now we're running. Oh, wait a minute. It ran over the top now. Whoops. Wait a minute. Is that my drawing, or is that the... I was going to say, I think it ran over the top, and nope, that was my drawing. There we go. I was going to say, that doesn't even make sense that it would be that far apart. We didn't have that parabolic trend push. So when you see this, it's pushing out. And then you got... And then, it didn't come all the way down, but this is still being used as support. Back up. Now, as this moves up with it, does that mean at some point we go, and then it just rides it up? Or are we going to come down below it and do this and then go like that? That means it would start going like that. And then eventually you'd have the death cross, because then this red line would cross through the 20, through the 50, 100, and 200 finally, and then that would be a death cross. But it doesn't seem like that's what we're trying to do here. It seems like we have higher ambitions here, if I'm being honest. We still got to get up to that discovery area and then pull back probably, since we haven't made it up there yet. And the pullback now could just be at this last high push. But I'm definitely interested on ZBCN. That's why, I don't know, I'm just very interested with ZBCN. Let's just put it that way. So, I know a lot of you have followed. You understand why. A lot of people in here have shared some great stuff when it comes to this token as well. Just great stuff. And I didn't even know about it until about 5 months or 4 months ago. And then we got to ride 150% move in February or March or whatever it was, when the rest of the market was dumping. It was awesome. And then you asked about DGB. So I hope that was a good rendition for you with ZBCN. Thank you to the 102 people that have found their way in here. It means a lot to me. This is my way of kind of letting my mind unwind just from the day's events. And I've only got an hour and a half of sleep from last night. So I'm a little DGB. It's down 4.2%, 4.3%, James. I wouldn't necessarily say it broke down. It never broke out, because it already had come back into the pattern, got rejected. But before you give up on it, make sure that it loses the 200-day here at 101. And I don't know if any of you ever played NHL, what was it, Hits or whatever, on the Nintendo GameCube. One of my guys' name, because it had the commentator would say 101011, and there was a guy, and I had like I think I called him Rex, and he had like a cow head or something, or a shark, I don't remember. But I'll never forget, 101011 passes it. And it always reminds me of that. So we've got right here. Oh man, this is beautiful, honestly. Oh, this is perfect. Just to see how this looks now after these upgrades. I just want to see what this looks like. Oh, that's horrible. No, not so horrible. That actually split off nice now. Before it was a pain in... Because that can give you your channel spacing too. But I would almost say, like, if you were going to do something like that, you'd probably have to... I mean, this is stupid, but you'd probably have to do something like... Nah, nothing's ever stupid. Gives you guidance somehow, some way. But yeah. But we got to find a proper channel to do that. But what I was saying is, I just want to see how that looked. But we have... Let's see. If I was doing this honestly, I would probably not go here. I'd probably go boom, 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 and that could be the inverse head and shoulders. We need to make sure though, because if that breaks down, oh yeah, DGB's breaking down, it's probably gonna come down here. So you're talking about a 8 to 10% drop if this reverses, and then it would just say we tried to break out too early, or we were meant to break down. Like I said, we got some interesting times ahead here. Very, very interesting times. The Fed. So, and we'll talk about this stuff. The Fed on rate changes. So I know we know about this. How we kept the funds rate earlier, but the question is going into our next meeting now, are we early enough going into the next meeting, or is the Fed still going to stay the same? The longer they stay the same, the longer that risk assets, could be a problem just for that parabolic push, because we need quantitative easing again and the easy printing money, so we've got to see if we've got that kind of an ability to actually push out from these ranges. I'm going to do a couple more minutes. I'm going to read this and then I'm going to go check on my son. I'm just glad we were able to do a live together. I really am. Thank you for the ones that's, are here. So I have, let's see. So XRP debuts on CME as whale activity rises. Is XRP's rally just getting started? And a significant development for the Ripple ecosystem. And we know about the Chicago Mercantile Exchange on May 19th. So the big part of this is the move makes XRP the first U.S. regulated altcoin after Bitcoin and Ethereum to be traded on the CME derivatives platform. The contracts are cash settled and priced off a daily reference rate with sizes of 2,550,000 XRP to be bought, and a lot. ETF store president Nate Garassi commented on the development, stating CME traded XRP futures are now live. CFTC regulated contracts on XRP. Spot XRP ETFs are only a matter of time. This suggests a growing institutional framework around Ripple XRP could support future products like XRP Spot XRP ETFs, which are currently under SEC review. So CME exec Tim McCourt praises XRP's really strong use case in an interview with trading vet Anthony Crudelli. So the launch places XRP alongside major cryptocurrencies already available on CME, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, cementing its role in the institutional crypto market. While XRP price dropped 3.45% on launch day, analysts view the move as a long-term bullish signal for the XRP market. So while the XRP futures market heats up, on-chain signals depict a more complex picture of XRP valuations and market sentiment. Over the past week, and then listen to this, 10 million to 100 million XRP token holders, which means they hold anywhere between 10 and 100 million XRP tokens in their wallet, accumulated assets with over 12.1% of the circulating supply now in their hands. That's an increase from 11.58% in April that depicts enhanced whale faith in XRP. So while all of retail is selling, whales have increased their holdings from 11.58% of the total circulating supply to over 12.1%. A whale just bought almost 250 million XRP worth over $500 million. And the price didn't flinch. No wick, no pump, no excitement. At some point, even the most loyal have to ask, is this a market or a simulation? Because when $500 million enters and nothing moves, something's broken. Incorrect. somebody doesn't know shit about the circulating supply of a token. If $250 million in Bitcoin was bought with a $25 million or 25 million total circulating supply, you could have a 10x move. Well, a 10x move in volume, let's say. 10 times more volume is coming in than what's even available as far as money-wise, right? You're able to buy, so you don't, every $25 million for Bitcoin, you can move the price up. 25 or $250 million, that's going to move it up. You know, we could do the figure, but it's going to move it up a decent amount. With XRP, in order to move it up, you need like the total circulating supply right now of XRP. Where are we at? 7, or I don't even know anymore. I don't even know. When I first started, we were at barely 30 billion. Now we're at 58.69 billion. So now it takes 58.6 billion with a B dollars to move it $1. Basically, you're gonna have to have $58.69 billion come in and equal the circulating movement to have some kind of big push like that. They're acting like, yes, it was a nice amount that moved in, but when you have a total circulating supply of 58.9 billion or 58 billion plus, 250 million, does that really sound like it moves the needle much? Or when you have a market cap as big because of all the tokens, do you really think that it's going to move the market that much? Now, if it said $2.5 billion was bought, or $12 billion, how about this? $52 billion or $58 billion was bought in XRP. Well, now we're going to have some big movement. $250 million, that would be like somebody having $1 million and tossing 25,000 into the river. Yeah, sure, it makes an impact, but they still got 975,000. How much are they really missing it? That's not even a good comparison. That would be like having $1 billion and throwing in $25 million or 25,000 into the water. How about that? That's the equivalent of a $250 million purchase on a token that has 58 billion in circulation. If I said XRP burned 250 million tokens, what would you say? Oh, big fucking deal. Now there's 99.7 billion total. Who cares? So, James, I'm at a stoplight. Tom, I just wanted to say I'm praying for you and little Tom. Love your updates, friends. Still got to make money. Not a... Hey, I respect that. And thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. And I appreciate the words for the little guy and the prayers. But he's definitely being watched over by the man upstairs. He's had so much stuff happen to him. But I'm gonna go check on him too here. So, but I wanted to finish reading this and just make a point here. Like even Frankie Fresh understands. Not even $1 billion would move it exactly. So 250 million. I mean it's small potatoes when you're dealing with circulating supply so big. At some point, so $500 million owners and nothing moves, something's broken. So nothing's broken. If it moved that much for just that little of a purchase with such a big circulating supply, something was wrong. At the same time, XRP exchange reserves increased from 2.7 billion to 2.9 billion XRP on Binance, according to Crypto Quant. This is typically an indication of growing selling pressure.
I just wanted to let you know T's sleeping.
He fell asleep.
Your mom's sleeping, T's sleeping.
How was he feeling?
He's fine. He's listening to a live.
This live?
Yes.
Oh, my son was listening to this live and he fell asleep. He's listening to our live and fell asleep. So now when I go upstairs to check on him, I'm going to go with Julie though here.
I'm gonna go check this.
Yeah, I'll meet you out there.
Okay.
I'll just end this right now so we can go do what we're going to do. But he didn't get any hotter.
And I haven't given him anything.
And he still felt, he wasn't gagging
Yes,
or anything.
maybe he'll break when he wakes up.
Good. I'm glad he's sleeping. That's what he needed. So that's good news. Oh, Jennifer, absolutely. We all know the entire... I'm not saying the crypto space isn't manipulated, believe me. Maybe a poor choice of words when I said then you would know it's manipulated, but it is manipulated. I agree with you. Let's not kid ourselves. We are 100% in a very manipulated market. But there, you guys got to hear that. My son fell asleep and his temperature is still hanging on where it's at without any more Tylenol, so it hasn't rised up a big amount. And he fell asleep, so we'll monitor him. But that's good news. That's good news. B, this is what happens. This is what happens. Oh yes, I'm gonna be watching over him. Believe me. If I can't sleep again tonight, I'll just be there staring. And because yesterday I even told Julian, my mom, 5 minutes before he had that femoral um, seizure, I'm like, get ready to experience something we've never had to deal with Tommy. And I said it twice, and then that happened. But I have very good intuition. Like I feel it. I'm like a woman. Like I have the maternal instinct of a woman. I always have since I was a kid. I really, really have. It's a crazy thing. At the same time, so um, its present trading volume is 4.63 billion, while its open interest in futures has climbed to 4.94 billion, indicative of an increasing market participation. This could add more impetus to the momentum and push XRP towards the key psychological level of $3. Technically, XRP is both showing its capability for a bull run as well as short-term vulnerability, which means macro is great, micro indecisive. With its current trading value of approximately $2.44, which is down from there to 235 or so, the Ripple currency price has formed a higher low trend supported by optimistic moving averages. Indicators like the relative strength index show light bullish bias, but yet remain below the overbought threshold. There's room here. There is room here. Now, I would love what Whale Satoshi's saying here, but that's everybody goes with these very extreme moves. If that happened, it'd be great. But it just, I don't know if I can get that high. I think if they would have done it at like the $5 area and then had a pullback, not all the way up though to $12 to pull back to 7 to put, I mean, if it happens, I'm going to be so friggin' happy. We all will. $3,500 if it got to the 5th point here. Because that's their little 5-wave push there, which I could see it. We could look at it as a big corrective wave too. I understand that. That's why if you look at this, it's interesting if you mess around with this a little bit. Of interest, the XRP Bitcoin pair has formed a golden cross on the weekly chart for the first time since 2017. That's a great indicator. As the 50-week moving averages cross over the 200-week average, historically the type of formation preceded a 1,000% climb that pushed XRP to all-time highs of $3.40 in January of 2018. Yet there is still some caution signs. A double top at about 265 and a recent failure from a rising wedge set up a signal possible short-term correction. Isn't this everything we've talked about? The 290 or 265 double rejection and the short-term rising wedge. That's everything we talked about in this live in the beginning. And look, that's exactly what they touched on. Brilliant article. Short-term correction to possibly 194 is also near an important level of support at $2 to $2.04, where some about 50 million of leveraged long positions are vulnerable to liquidate. Ooh. Well, that even makes more sense why that area keeps popping. Sean Crothers, welcome in, my main man from Maine. Oh, nothing much is happening, just dealing with my son. He's on the mend. According to Glassnode's net unreleased profit loss NUPL metric, XP investors are observed to have entered the denial stage, a stage usually experienced prior to price corrections. This is held true for the past sell-offs in 2018 and 2021, is putting a cloud over short-term XP price prediction models. In the meantime, the XP lawsuit against the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, is still an outstanding factor, while the Ripple lawsuit has progressed through significant milestones with mixed victories of Ripple Labs. Regulatory uncertainty continues to cloud the path of broader acceptance and the green lighting of spot ETFs. The XRP SEC legal saga has stirred global interest, especially with Ripple seeking to expand its financial partnerships, including its much criticized deal with Bank of America, while CEO Brad Garlinghouse has in the past hinted at a strategic agreements post-lawsuit. Concrete outcomes are speculative. Despite short-term volatility and mixed signals, XRP's long-term outlook retains bullish elements with key technical patterns forming, growing institutional support via CME futures, and whale accumulation on the rise. Many in the market remain optimistic. Analysts maintain price projections ranging from $3.69 to as high as $17 based on symmetrical triangle breakouts. Like I said, let's take it step, step, step. I've already shown you the road to $20. But I'm not going to focus on anything above that 549 to 679 range until it has broken out. Historical trends, however, or to breakouts and historical trends. However, to sustain upward momentum, XRP must clear immediate resistance levels and navigate near-term risks, including broader market corrections and ongoing regulatory pressure. In conclusion, while the road ahead of XRP may be bumpy, the combination of increasing institutional exposure, whale confidence, and technical support suggests that The rally may not be over yet. As always, investors are advised to watch closely, especially in light of Ripple XP news and further XP lawsuit updates from the SEC. So I got to go. Julie's waiting for me. Have a blessed evening. Thank you for spending 50 minutes with me. Thank you for all the prayers for my son. And we'll do better tomorrow. We will do better tomorrow. Make sure you watch that 35-minute update this morning.